Most years the maize production was fairly good here, but there were many years in which corn yields were very bad, either because it was very cold or more frequently because it was very dry. And those would have been exceptionally tough for the populations living here. And we see in the archaeological record for these folks that after around AD 700 or 800, they begin to store a lot of corn, and we suppose that that is one way of buffering the variability from year to year that we see in these reconstructions. Another thing that we've been working on with the simulation is to try and understand how households could have exchanged maize with each other to make up for the fact that my area might be good in one year, but your area might be bad in that same year, and is there a plausible system of exchange that could help make it so that we can both make a living when that happens?
So when I was running the simulation with the exchange networks, when the first time I implemented them, I remember calling Tim and say, well, I see the population and there's a drop in the population. So when I introduced the level of exchange, I stopped seeing that. And in the simulation, it's telling us that based on the population counts, that even though there was a drought, their numbers are still there according to what we observe in the archaeological record. And this is quite exciting. The other thing that we can learn from the Asian simulation, when you look at the Asians themselves, they learn from their interactions, they learn from their experience. So as an artificial robot or household or agent, when they exchange, they learn. What does that mean? If I'm exchanging with my neighbor and my neighbor didn't want to give me any food, then next time I won't ask that neighbor. And if they ask something from me, hey, you didn't cooperate last time, I will remember that. So that memory is critical in the Asians, and they use it to make their future decisions.
What exchange does in this kind of a patchy environment, when you might have rain in one place and not in another, is it enables these people in these families to not be isolated. They can be tied to that person who's 1 mile away. They can have that important relationship to that person 1 mile away. And so if that person got rain and their corn grows in really well and they have extra corn, the family that doesn't have it can ask to borrow. And that family that has it will be able to lend. Comparing simulation runs with no exchange against simulation runs with exchange, more people survive in years in simulations when there is exchange on. What this would mean to the actual families is that if they could exchange, they don't die. Really surprising things in the simulation is that not only do we have a growth in population, but when we have certain different parameters in the simulation on and off, so by a parameter, what I mean is a thing we write into the code that we can turn on and off. So by allowing people, in one of the key parameters, by allowing people to look at those who are wealthy in the neighborhood and keep exchanging with them, not only are there more people on the landscape, but people start actually moving closer together. We have people forming communities, it looks like. These communities that have been seen in the archaeological record are actually showing up in the simulation when people are exchanging food alone.